I think we're up. Good morning, gang. The usual suspects here today. Say hello, everyone, all three of us. Yes, the paper's out. I know today it's Suga-san's paper, and she'll be printing Patreon chibis today. She's got a batch of maybe 100, 150 of them, I'm not sure. We'll need to do about 600 of them in this first batch, and we're distributing it. Rei-chan did a test batch first already, you've seen that. Now the first production batch is starting. Suga-san is going to work on that. And then we're going to pass the blocks around. They're all going to do a batch of 100 or so. Maybe even me. Who knows? We'll see. How has today Waganen been for me so far? It's quiet. But I'm quite happy about that because last night we were really not quite sure what to expect. The newspapers the past few days have been emphasizing that all police leave was cancelled. They really weren't sure what to expect last night. As far as I know, I haven't seen a news report much this morning, but as far as I know, nothing went on. It was quiet in Saksa. The past few nights have been drunken playtime. We've had broken bottles. There was a glass door down the street that was broken 2 nights ago. Just drunks. And that's what you expect a 10-day holiday. These kids go too far. Kids go too far. Okay, you can see what I'm doing this morning. It's embossing time. We have the embossing tag that says here, Horiburu, and it says Suri Yamamoto. It is right, I carved this one, so I should be careful, make sure we get the right one. And it's a batch of prints that just came back from Yamamoto-san. He's had these for the past, he's had the blocks for the past couple of weeks. And here we have, I think it's a batch of 80. 80 prints of the one Jed calls A Young Man Shakes Heaven. This is the one, of course, that I carved when we were making the documentary movie a few years back. And Yamamoto-san's done a good job. And when I see this paper, looking at the back, I can see the dosa, the sizing, must have been a little bit, it wasn't optimal. There's a bit of feathering on the back, and I think he must have found it pulled up a little bit. I don't see any feathering on the front. I think you remember about a month or so ago when we were doing a size extreme, I mentioned that I'd been experimenting stronger glue on the front and a weaker glue on the back to try and minimize the amount of glue in the paper. And it looks like he's had some feathering. I haven't chatted with him about this yet. Anyway, my job this morning is to get the names embossed on this thing. And then also, once that's finished, I've got some print checking to do. We've got prints that have been sent to us by a bunch of the printers. It's my job to check them and get them sent to Omi. This is a really nice job from Rei-chan. See if I get to that later. Okay, Dave, get going. Check the positioning here. It's a bit too far out. There it is, that's right. This print is a bit narrower than some of the others. I screwed up when I was getting the hunched up basted down. Yeah, the police were worried about two things yesterday. They were worried about over exuberant rowdiness, as happens in Shibuya there on every Halloween and stuff like that. Then they were also worried about possible right-wing extremists misbehaving with the new emperor coming in. That happened when Heisei started. There was a bunch of episodes, and they were worried about that this time. But I haven't seen any news about such things. Okay, let's try this. Okay, the positioning looks good, I think. Are we going to be able to see this on the camera? Try and get that. Here we are. Can we get the right angle to see the light? There it is. I think it's the embossing. And it's the usual. It says Hori Buru Suri Yamamoto Shun. Hori Buru Suri Yamamoto Shun. Carving by Bo, printing by Yamamoto-san. Okay, looks good. Let's roll. 80 sheets to do. You guys are quiet this morning, same as me, maybe. I remembered this morning as I was setting up the stream, I remembered that just as we were shutting down the stream the other day, it was Monday, perhaps, I guess Monday or Sunday, I don't remember, I heard a ding in the question box, just as like seconds before I hit the closing stream thing. So I didn't, of course, I didn't answer at that time, but I remembered this morning that there had been a question the other day. So I checked this morning to see what it was, and somebody asked a question just at the end of one of the other streams about what's our disaster plan here at Mokohanka. And the specific example they gave was what happens if there's a tsunami here. What's our disaster plan? And I think he said he'd hate to see all this artwork destroyed. What's his question? Yeah, this is water. This is moisture. Just lightly. Normally we would do this embossing with the paper still in the moistened state for printing, but Yamamoto-kan, he doesn't want to waste time doing this. So I have to lightly re-moisten the paper, just enough. We're just getting a tad, a dab of moisture to help the embossing take effect. Anyway, sidetrack. Yeah, the question was about what's our disaster plan. Well, there's stuff we can handle and stuff we can't, and there are concerns that are important and there are concerns that are not important. And for us in a print publishing company like this, the main thing we would like to preserve in case there's some kind of trouble, earthquake, fire, flood, whatever, the number one thing we'd like to preserve is not the woodblock prints. These are ephemeral stuff, whatever. The shop here is full of prints, but if the shop burned down today, we could recover our business as long as we have the wood blocks. For us, the blocks themselves, the method of production, is much more important than the objects that we've produced in terms of maintaining the stability of our business. So we keep the blocks, except the ones that are in active use right now. We keep the blocks over at my house in Ome. And that's a building, it's a 4-story building, and the bottom 2 floors are heavy, grotesquely heavy concrete construction, and the top 2 floors are a light wooden disposable frame house. So as you can expect then, we keep the blocks over in Ome in the basement, the concrete part of that building. That's no guarantee that there can't be a fire there. There could be a brush fire in the neighbor's garden that spreads to the house, spreads down to the basement, the blocks burn. It's possible, of course. But for the most part, we try and keep the blocks in what is the safest place among the different options that we have. The prints themselves, it sounds a bit funny to say this, but the prints themselves are ephemeral and disposable. You mentioned tsunami. This area where we are, actually in Tokyo, at the tip of Tokyo Bay, is not specifically susceptible to tsunami as far as the experts tell us. If there is this gigantic earthquake out in the Pacific, the Nankai Trough earthquake we're talking about coming at some time, water levels rise against the country, but by the time it gets to the top of Tokyo Bay, so we're told, there's no real risk of huge flooding here. Having said that, this building is in a low-lying part of Tokyo. We're at or near sea level, this building here. So we have our own general house rule. When we had the shop up on the second floor of the building, we had the browser bins for prints, and underneath the browser bins we stored prints on the floor, up on the second floor. Since coming down to the first floor, we have a standing rule. There are no boxes of inventory, no boxes of prints spread along the floor there underneath all the browser bins. Because if there was some kind of first floor flood here, those prints would be destroyed in a few minutes. So we don't keep any prints on the floor down here in the first floor. If there's a flood of the scale that wipes out, 6 meter flood that wipes the whole thing out, well, we're done. I mean, there's nothing else to say about that. As I said, the prints themselves are ephemeral as long as the blocks are okay. And blocks would survive a flood too. It doesn't matter. It's just pieces of wood, dry them off and get back to work. There's stuff I can worry about and stuff I can't worry about. There's things we can control. The area we're in, this Asakusa area, is a semi-quote dangerous area in that it's near sea level and there are still many, many old wooden frame buildings around here. Next to us, 2 doors down, is a bunch of wooden frame buildings, and if there's an earthquake and stuff, it will go up in flames in minutes. And behind us, and abutting our building, is an old wooden frame shack, and that will go up in flames. So it's quite possible we'd be surrounded by fire for the first couple of hours after a major earthquake. Our building itself is steel-framed concrete. We have fire extinguishers through the building. We don't have a sprinkler system, of course. This is an ancient building. We also have sandbags standing by. We have a whole pile of sandbags. They're behind me right here. They're in the back here. We've prepared them. And if there is an incipient small-scale flood, like a coming up the water levels that people are wading through, that kind of flood, we can block that from the first floor here. And there's usually somebody in the building 24 hours a day, staff during the day, of course, and me at night. Yeah, the polymer plates for embossing, just made by a local printing company. Anybody in the world can do this. If you've got a local print shop that does offset printing and stuff, they will have the know-how to make these plates. They're usually commonly used for things like people printing name cards and stuff, Meishi. You give them an Illustrator file, or whatever, or an image, and they turned it into a plates for us. Speaking about the local god, I thought he said he was in Tokyo. I thought he was going to drop by. I haven't seen him. Or maybe he came by and it was too busy and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. Is he here today? I haven't seen his name here. Well, next time I see him, Nick, next time I see him here, I was going to ask him, as far as the commands go, if he can show me the relevant place to make the changes. We can, do that ourselves, if you like, update the commands and stuff without having to bother him about it. Yeah, all the same, they just such a nice job. One after the other, all the same. Yeah, we offered him a full-time job here, but he wouldn't do it. His mentor, Kubota-san, who also works for us, told him no. He wanted the mentor, Yamamoto-san, the mentor, Kubota-san, and suggested to Yamamoto-san, the younger boy, that he work for Dachi for a while. First, I guess the feeling is more experience with different kinds of printing first. And also from Kubota-san's point of view, we're too soft, we're too easygoing. We don't hassle our printers, scream at them, yell at them. We don't give them any hassle. And Kubota-san himself learned under a much more strict environment. I think he has the feeling too that it's better for a young printer to work in a strict environment at first. And I kind of get what his point is. The elderly printers that I know, Kubota-san, Seki-san, the older guys that I knew, they learned in a very strict, very abusive environment. It sounds awful, but my God, they turned out to be good printers. They were pushed and pushed and pushed and trained and trained and trained. And it was sort of a survival of the fittest environment, And it worked. For the ones that got through it, it worked. For the ones that fell by the wayside, it's not so successful. The point of the exercise is to create good, strong craftsmen. And that's where we fall down, because we're a bit too gentle and soft. Oh, my mother's there. No way, you're back. Haven't seen you here for ages. We had computer update trouble for a while with my mother, but she's back here. Nice. Hello, hello. For those of you who don't know, the lady who just posted in the thread here, the lady called Bet Bull, that's my mother there. She's from Vancouver. She lurks a lot here. Wish she would comment more. It's okay. Mom, I've tried calling on Skype a couple of times the last few days, but I haven't managed to catch you when you're there. It's hard to tell on Skype these days. It doesn't really show whether someone's active or not, or we have a different version or something. It's not matching up. Also, for those who don't know, our mascot, the little owl behind me there, the one who is commonly called Fridge by the stream here, that came from my mother. She sent over the mascot, a year or so ago, I guess. I don't remember exactly now. I know my mother had a bit of a, I can say this, it's okay without telling stories. My mother had a bit of a crisis last month when our web host upgraded their mail server, and it turned out that both my computers and the computer my mother was using weren't able to connect and get mail because we were running an older version of the Apple OS, the one they call Yosemite. And for a while, my mother couldn't get mail. And whatever, it turned out that that was a real tragedy because every night she gets a mail from a newspaper company saying tonight's version of the cryptic puzzle is now online. And my mother has been following this links and doing a cryptic crossword. She does this every night before going to bed. They're complicated crosswords. I can't actually do them myself. They're difficult if you don't know how to do them, cryptic crosswords. So she missed her nightcap, the idea of doing the puzzle every night before heading for bed. So I believe it's all back up and running now. But this was a big sadness for her to miss her puzzle every night. So it's also embarrassing for me. I'm 67. I think I'm pretty smart, but my mother can run rings around me. She does these cryptic crosswords, and she just check, writes it, goes right to the end. And I don't even know where to get started. Oh, she's got the comment backwards there. Kimi, my daughter's on vacation. My sister Sherry is out of the country. Phil, a family friend, is in England, and she's missed one. Cy, it says, is busy. Cy, that's my brother Cy, and he's nuts about snooker. So he just gloms onto the TV screen whenever that's up and running. Yeah, you and me both, upgrades, just the bane of my life. Upgrades. There's two words that strike terror into my heart running our computer systems here. One is upgrade, And the second one, which follows soon after upgrade, is the word dependency. Dependencies. God, nightmares. That's the stuff of nightmares for me. You know what, this one, the print here that I'm doing now, is that the first print you got from us? Thank you, thank you. This got featured, of course, in the documentary movie, and the effect of that now is slowing down. Last autumn, we had a wonderful, wonderful effect. The documentary movie was playing in airplanes all over the world, and daily it brought people into this shop. Daily. It was actually a distortion in our business. When we look at the business figures now for the past year, last autumn was stunningly spectacular. And this spring is really, really good. We're way up again still, but it's clearly a distortion. Last autumn was higher than it should have been. And that's because of the documentary effect, which has now tailed off. We hope to get another kick at the cat from that documentary once it goes to Netflix. But that's not happening yet. It's out of our control. The documentary has nothing to do with us. We don't control when and how and where it's shown. But when it finally does go to Netflix, North America, or perhaps worldwide, that's when we really hope that it can have an effect on our business again. Or if at some point in the future they finally give up on trying to make revenue from it and up it to YouTube or something. No, there's no word to Netflix. I'm not trying to say there is. It's out of my control. And last time I spoke to them about it, they don't have any intention of going to Netflix, because once it goes there, they can't sell it anywhere else. They're still trying to sell it in different markets. Actually, seeing something on this paper now reminds me. How can I do this? If I flip over the back of the paper, you can see what I'm doing. I'm putting it on the board here in where the registration marks would be. If this was a piece of wood, there would be a corner mark carved here. There would be a line. And when you're making the print, the paper goes in the corner mark against the line, and the printer then rubs the back of it. And printers treat their left thumb here in different ways. Before I explain what I'm going to say here, let me try and find a page I can link. Just a sec. I should have thought about this before I started the stream today. If I go to astoryweek.com, let me try and find the link here to a specific episode. One sec here, just bear with me for a minute here. Here we are. episode 283 and 284. Let me link to the first one here. Okay, let's leave this hanging for a minute. There's two of the stories on my old Story a Week website. We've got lots of time in the stream left today. So those of you who are just watching, there's a link to a short story. It's about 300 words. You can read it. It's part one. And before we go to part two, we need to have a look at this piece of paper. It's a chance to show exactly, because when I wrote that story, I didn't put any pictures with it, and it was difficult. I heard from people afterwards. It was difficult to understand what I was talking about in that little mystery story, because they couldn't see any pictures. And it'll be a good chance today to show you exactly what that's about. Actually, if you're on mobile, I have no idea how that will work on mobile. That website was designed years and years ago, before we were using iPhones and stuff. Sorry if there's new people here on the stream. So we're embossing names. If I can get this visible. Is it going to show here? There we are. It's the carver's name, which is me actually in this case. Carving, Hori, Bo, it's my name. And then Suri, printing Yamamoto Shun. So we're embossing the names of the people who made this print. It's just come off our production process. And now we're putting the names on. And it's done with polymer plate. I didn't carve this. There you see it. It's a piece of plastic made by a printing company for us with the characters raised up. It's a polymer plate used by printing companies, not woodblock companies. They will get plates made, roll ink on them, and you print, and it prints what it is. It did replace things like movable type years and years and years ago. The blue cloth just has some moisture, so it's a dry print. I'm lightly moistening that corner where the embossing has to go. Getting it lined up in the right place, and doing the physical embossing by pressing from the back. And bingo, the craftsman's names are now permanently on the paper. People ask about that too, you know, we've embossed it, then I'm going to stack them up and they will go in folders, they'll go in mail. It doesn't, you can't possibly get this out. If I had a spare one I could show you, I could take this now on a flat board and rub the back, but there's no way we can get out all traces of this embossing. This is as permanent as it comes on this paper. We've got prints in the shop from 1820, whatever, which have embossing on them, and they've been living there, damped and dried and flattened and touched and fooled around. And the embossing is still there. No, the embossing is not unique. I know all during the years that ukiyo-e printing was done, embossing was part of the images, and it is for our prints too. I don't have one within reach, but just on the wall opposite me there's prints that have patterns or parts of the prints themselves. They are embossed. In those cases, we carve wood to emboss it. The idea of putting the names on the side excuse me, that didn't exist at all in the old ukiyo-e days. When you moved into the 20th century, it became common to put names on the side, and it's usually done with a faint gray ink. They didn't usually do it just in a blank, blind embossing. Shinhaga prints nearly always have titles or craftsmen's names put in light ink. We didn't want to disturb the print itself, you know. But in ukiyo-e times, nobody cared what the craftsmen's names were at all. There's almost no examples left of prints that have the names on. Although occasionally there's prints that have the carver's name in the block. But it wasn't common at all. But we're proud of these prints. I want my names on them. I want people to understand that they're handmade stuff. So talk about the mystery story. They've read this part 1 and part 2, and I can show you, just grab one of these prints I've just done here. The person who made this print, young Yamamoto-san, he is not one of the 3 men I featured in that mystery story. In fact, those men, 2 of them are dead now, 1 is not dead. I used initials. I said M, who was it? M, S, and O. This is young Yamamoto. But he does his printmaking the same way. I talked about thumbnail marks on the back of the print. And let's see if I can get this to an angle where we can see what's going on. We're looking at the spot here. When he's printing it, as I mentioned, his thumb goes in a corner, his thumb goes here, down the paper goes, and he rubs it with the tool. And while he's doing this, some printers hold the paper with the meat, with the ball of their thumb here. And some printers dig in their thumbnail sharply to hold the paper while they're rubbing. Yamamoto-san, he must have studied along a group of printers who come from one of the methods I showed you. He uses his thumbnail, or he did for this print. Let's see if I can get it to a point where I can show you the marks. This might be difficult to do here. We're looking at this zone right by my finger. If I can get the light angle right, we might have to do it this way. If I put the light on down here and zoom in, let's see if we can catch this. Let me just try and find this spot here. Hang on a second. We're looking at the area here. I think you can see it. Got it? You can see it. See the little series of marks? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And it'll be for 8 of the blocks. What he did was, I'll try and get the right point, was he put the right-hand side in, then for the left-hand side, and when he put it in the registration marks, he leaned on it with his thumb like this to really pin it tightly and make sure it didn't move while he was rubbing. And it's those leftover marks that can identify. They can't identify a particular printer. I don't know the shape of his thumb. But in that mystery story, it identified Group A printers and Group B printers, men who did it with the ball of their thumb and men who did it with their thumbnail. And I myself, actually, over the years, I think I've switched one way to the other. It'd be interesting to look at some of my older prints and see which way they were done. And maybe somebody's saying count blocks, but I'm not quite sure, because some of these things, for example, printing these base tones here, it would, I should zoom out again. It's when you're printing a small area, like, I don't know, if he was doing this light blue here, there's not so much area, and when it's a small carved area, when you put your paper down, it doesn't stick so much. So it's quite possible the paper will move before you get a chance to hit it with the baren. But for an area that's really wide and wet, you've rubbed a big wide area with wet pigment, down she goes, you're touching, that is not going to move, you don't need to pin it. If you were printing a little tiny area, it's really easy to move. Cameron-san, you're here, good morning, good morning. We're just disclosing, you've probably never read this, the mystery story, who was the murderer of the publisher? You've never read this? No, it's okay. It's okay. No problem.
What publisher? Who's dead?
We're doing the embossing this morning of one of Yamamoto-san's, the prints. Yeah. And as I'm embossing it, it's come up to me. There's some. Do you see what's on the back here? You see, there's a bunch of marks.
I see the marks. Yeah.
This reminded me that years ago, 10 years ago, in my Story of Weeks, I made up a Sherlock Holmes type episode where Dave, who plays Sherlock, came in and solved a mystery and found the murderer.
Oh.
And he did so by inspecting the print. Let's see, look at the back. Aha, I know who printed this. And it was because I had known. But anyway, it's not anyway, just seeing this today, I reminded what I should have done if I was really smart, I should have shut up. I should have found the audio file, and I should have just played the audio for the mystery story while printing this, but I didn't have the brains to do that.
Oh, that would have been funny.
Yeah, later on, I won't speak. Yeah. Yeah. You mixed up and do this twice. He must be early today. It's still, remember, it's holiday schedule. I know Cameron has a normal set time he comes because he usually comes on weekdays, which are normally weekdays. This week, all the weekdays are holiday days. So the trains are all on a... Leave the guy alone. He's gone to a different room in the house for a minute. He'll be back in a minute. It doesn't matter what he's doing. But all the weekdays this week, the trains are not running on a weekday schedule. the trains are running on holiday schedule. I think the first day it fooled him. On Monday, he got fooled because he'd forgotten that was the case. But today he probably was hip to it. Yesterday was being Tuesday, the shop was sort of closed, but we weren't sure what to do because it's a holiday weekend. And the morning was pouring rain. So I thought, forget it, just close it. We're supposed to be closed Tuesday, it's pouring rain anyway. So we pulled the shutter down. We did private work, we went to lunch, came back. He's looking at the notes to see what happened yesterday. It was a good day yesterday. It wasn't a spectacular day, but it was. They just kept coming in.
I knew about the earliest ones, but
They just kept coming in.
kept
They just
going.
kept coming in.
So it topped off April for us.
It topped off April, and I can now that if you do the figures and stuff for us
Yep.
today, I know Jacques has been doing projections for
Right.
us.
Let's see how
And
close
No, we can't do it. Well, there's a couple of reasons. And what's his one reason? Last fall, there's two reasons. He's done his projections based on what happened last fall.
Right.
There was 2 black swans last fall in October. One was that lady from Holland who brought in 14 women friends who were starved for stuff, and they went through,
Pick the walls clean.
pick the walls clean. That was one episode. And then it was a documentary movie, remember? It was playing on all the airlines.
Yeah.
And it's no longer there. So that, I can't say artificially boosted, but it was a black
boost,
swan, yeah. So we can't follow a curve from last autumn right through to this spring.
Yeah.
So we're down below that projection, but now we're back to normal. We're back to normal spectacular growth.
Yeah.
They're talking about stuff I have no idea what it's about. He did the 140. I have no idea. Over to you.
What's going on.
Over to you.
No idea what's going on. All right. Oh, it's camera situation.
My mother's in here this morning for a while. So. So does it feel any different this morning? As in, there you are.
Oh, they Nope. Not really. Nope.
I'd been a bit worried last night because, the few days previous had been a lot of pretty rowdy drunkenness.
Yeah.
And last night, I don't know, actually, I went to sleep about 10 and didn't get woken up, so I guess there wasn't a whole bunch of
All
rowdies.
right.
And there was no broken windows out there this morning, I think so.
That's good.
But I didn't check
No
the news.
rioting.
Have you seen the news? Was there
No,
anything
I
spotted
haven't.
last night?
Heard anything?
They were worried about, possible right-wing activists. And this morning still, during the enthronement ceremony,
Yeah.
they were worried about, right-wing guys playing up. When's it happening today? 10? Noon? What?
I thought I heard 10 o'clock, but I don't know.
But actually, it's already today. Well, the change was midnight.
Yeah,
The
that's what I
date
figured.
change was midnight. So
I have no idea what they're talking about either. Snooker,
well, that
know
gave.
anything
So my
about.
mother was on chatting about the fact that my brother is watching all the snooker tournament or something,
Okay.
and that incited a conversation.
I don't think I've even heard of snooker. Is it a card game?
No, it's something related to billiards in the sense of the balls on a
okay.
table bouncing into pockets. But
Got it.
people who are devotees are really, really devotees. And like, this is not pool, and it is not pool, and we're not to be mentioned in the same sentence, and stuff like this. And that's all I know about it.
Okay. Interesting.
I guess there's the three. There's snooker, billiards, and pool, I guess. And
Yeah. Me being ignorant, didn't know there's a difference between billiards and pool either. But that's okay. I'm looking up, see if there's any Japanese news related to the abdication and ascension. But no, I don't say anything on a quick glance
That's all
about?
we want, just a quiet
Yep.
transition. Yeah. So, yeah. We're short-staffed today, eh? So I'm party duty all day.
Oh, no.
And tomorrow also too.
Wait, we're short.
We've
Did
got
someone
two.
get
We've
sick?
got- No. We've got two. We need to do those five.
Yeah, oh.
Five. We can't do it with two, so I have to be here. So.
Oh, shucks.
So not a complaint, but anyway. So for the next 2 days, anyway, I'm here.
Yeah.
Friday it looks like I can go upstairs.
Yeah. This was a big batch, wasn't it? Almost 80 again?
It's 80, yeah. I know, so he doesn't like doing smaller batches. It's
Yeah.
so much trouble getting the colors mixed and getting sorted
Yeah.
out, and then by the time bang, you're finished.
Yeah.
I mean, 500 is too many, you know.
Right.
It's a balance between the time he can spend on it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, maybe he doesn't freeze the stuff, so it's got to be able to be done before we get it.
Yeah, done quickly.
So.
Huh. Now I'm confused. By the way, Dave or Cameron, what was the story about on the owl print that you have for sale at Mokuhancon? It said the text was omitted due to it being strange? I don't remember omitting any text from any of our owl prints.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Me neither. Which owl prints? Is it a Yoshida design or our small one on the wall behind us?
Or flea market print, or
Yeah.
I have no
Lots of
idea
owl
what we're
prints
talking
in the shop.
about. The text was omitted.
Due to it being...
Oh, yeah. No, it is.
Ah, the
It's-
poem that accompanied
Yes.
That
I
one.
get it now.
Okay.
So. It wasn't a question of strange, it was a question of I just want to clean up the print to make it a more simple version. You know.
Yeah.
There was a fragment of Chinese poetry on the original, which I left
Okay.
out. If I said the word
make it more-
strange, that's probably not the right word. I'm sorry. I was just trying to simplify and clean up the design.
Yeah. So that it's not as cluttered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to figure out what was going on. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Got it. That's okay. The poem was unreadable, right?
Well, unreadable by me, which is not saying a lot, but whatever, you know, it had meaning. I know lots of the Hiroshige era flower and bird prints, gacho got lots of them incorporated fragments of poetry.
Right.
At that time, usually Chinese classical poetry, about more which in the concurrent video.
Yeah. Indeed.
So I just left it off. To me, it was a distraction from what was a really, really attractive image of a quiet animal. But if I say strange, that's perhaps the wrong word to use. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Dave is slowly covering the chop in owl prints. We are.
Actually, who did that the other day? Somebody put 3 owl prints out there.
Yeah, still there. I think 2 were out there just
Yeah.
by accident, and then
Somebody got
Kira
smart.
said,
It is
"Oh,
smart. Let's
I
do
see
it."
2 already. Let me add a 3rd one," and it is kind of funny. I wonder if they can see it with this camera. One, 2, 3.
Are you zoomed in on them?
I did, yeah. Just barely. Maybe not long enough. I'm too young and impatient to stay on one thing too long.
Did I say something?
Oh, yesterday with the timer, but also it's true. When we were testing reading poetry and stuff.
Yeah. Have you been thinking about that all night?
No, I just thought of it again
Something
now.
David said, he doesn't like me anymore.
Yeah.
Something.
That's what I dreamed about all night. I could only count to 6 seconds. I couldn't go any longer.
Actually, it's really funny, you know, and I have to wonder about myself on that because
Yeah.
I used to be classical music, crazy about classical music.
Yeah.
You know, I had some LPs. I was going to be a flute player at some point. I was even conducting
Yeah.
and doing this and doing that. And I remember being in high school, and I got myself a full score for the Dvorak New World Symphony.
Okay, yeah.
Number 9, number 4, whatever they did, number 5, number 9, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And I would conduct it to this whatever LP record I had.
Yeah.
You know. So of course the record that you have becomes your base measurement because you hear it so many times that becomes
Yeah.
normal for you.
Yeah.
So whatever. So years go by, I hear other versions. That's too fast, or that's too slow, because it deviated from the norm.
The one that you
the
knew.
one that I knew that
Yeah.
had been just like or the Mahler first version that I learned.
Yeah.
It goes all through the whole catalog. Because I started fairly early and had these LP records and didn't have too many records.
Yeah.
Played them again and again and again and again, and it just turns into concrete.
Yeah.
In your mind.
This is that piece of
And it's the
music.
thing. But the thing is, now I have had no music in my life now for 5 or 6 years since coming to Asakusa. When I worked in Ome, I'm playing music all the time. Not always the same old thing that I listened
not
to.
the same
years
type
ago,
of
but it was
albums,
there.
yeah.
But now I've had a gap. And it's really interesting. Things have sort of cleaned out a bit. No, this is a serious point. It's
Yeah.
cleaned out a bit. And where was I? I did hear some music the other day. Oh, we played it on. Maybe
Yeah.
we put the iPad on. So somebody comes starting in and playing the New World, blah 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 blah. I think that's too fast. It's way too fast. And the announcement comes up, and it's the same one. It's the same recording, Vienna Philharmonic, Von Karajan, the same one that I grew up on in the 1960s. And I'm thinking,
No way.
no way, it's too fast. So I doubled back, got it, went to YouTube to hear it again, and it's the same one. It's got the same cover on the
Yeah.
record, the same thing. And I'm thinking, that's way too fast.
Interesting.
So, okay, I'm not 18 anymore, 16
Yeah.
anymore, I'm 67.
Yeah.
And I'm a totally different guy. I know I'm living in a totally different milieu.
Yeah.
I've also aged. And I'm also in an environment now where I'm actually trying to produce stuff like videos and this and this. And I'm telling stories.
Yeah.
And this is worthy of a book, the idea that's to be explained here. I never, ever thought of myself as a storyteller. I was
Right.
just whatever. Conversation was difficult for me. I couldn't even talk to people.
Right.
Yes, there's a YouTube comment. Oh my God, what a wonderful raconteur. I thought, what? Dave
What?
Bull in the same sentence as the word raconteur. It doesn't make any sense. And yet, even now when I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
it turns out I'm pacing words.
Yeah.
I'm leaving gaps. And I'm not thinking about this, but it's all that thing to talk about timing.
Yeah.
And that New World Symphony now, if I was standing up there now, start the slow movement, it's timing. It's timing. It's not just too fast, too slow. It's not like a joke with a punchline.
Yeah.
But it's important. You shape it and you wait, and just a moment, we can take a second and now give me that note.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just I'm slowing down with age and I want to hear things slower because I'm boring and I'm going to go to sleep. No, it's a different approach to these things.
Yeah.
And if I had time to fool around this, I'd love to go now and revisit some of the music that I really listened to a lot. And then you and I, the background of the story is yesterday, Cam and I were getting ready for a video we're making.
Yeah.
We're probably going to record it in a couple of days, the next David's Choice video. And at one point, we're going to show some prints. And then what's happening is Cameron's going to run the camera. He's going to zoom in and pan, or we're going to do Ken Burns, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to have an image where you see the whole thing and pan around it. And while this is happening, I'll be reading a poem that goes along with the image. And we did a sort of a test run last night. Cameron he was doing the B-roll, and I stood in the background with the poem. I forget to tell a story. Right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's not a story
absolutely.
you can't do. It's just description viewpoint.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay, how long? So, whatever. The point is,
How long should it be?
how long should it be? And
We had different ideas.
So Cameron thought it should be over this length of time, and I thought we could expand it to this length of time. Whatever, it's not a good or bad situation.
No, it was just different. I don't know.
And Will, what we should do when we do get to recording this, we should maybe make a couple of versions and then put them aside for a day, and then come back and just see. Because in the heat of the moment, it's sometimes difficult to figure out what it should be. And also, we did just one yesterday, but there's going to be 8 of them.
in a row.
And what's acceptable for one may be a whole different story. By the time you get to number 8, Dave, when are we going to go to sleep? And here we go again. So there's lots of factors involved here.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to experiment with. Could be Dave's turntable was too slow back in the day.
That's absolutely 100% probable. Not just possible, probable.
It was a 45, but you were running it at 333 and a third.
No, I mean, I didn't have a turntable with those lights, the strobes that
Right.
kept it. This was a.
Oh
And
yeah.
the arm just went boom. And when it's not, we're not talking about a horn
Yeah.
type thing.
Oh,
This
okay.
was
Yeah.
1966. The thing in
Okay.
our house, it was nothing.
Yeah.
We had no hi-fi. My God. It was one of those like Columbia Records things where you got it and you open the top and the two things flip
Oh,
out
okay,
from
yeah.
the side. You know.
Fun. Do you still have lots of your vinyl records here?
They're
or-
in storage in Ome. They're over there
Yeah,
somewhere.
they're in storage,
They're over
okay.
there somewhere. When the CD era came along, I bought thousands. I'm so embarrassed about it now. I bought literally
Yeah.
thousands of CDs.
Wow.
They're in storage in Ome, and I ripped those at some point.
Yeah.
And I started to rip a bunch of the LPs. as
Okay, I was
well.
gonna ask about that.
I did, but that's a much more difficult job. Noise reduction and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
and you have to do it at one time speed. You can't just
What it-
rip a
yeah,
CD
yeah,
in
So,
a minute.
So all my CDs got ripped, and they're now in the database upstairs on,
Okay.
on that old iMac
Yeah.
on the Robo.
Yeah.
And I kept. It's funny. I didn't sell the CDs.
Yeah.
I thought, funny. I need to keep them as backup to prove that I didn't get that.
Just
from,
download them illegally,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't download it illegally. I've got. I own that music, or
Yeah.
I own the rights to play that music for myself. You know, whatever it means.
Yeah. My dad also had an enormous record or a collection of vinyl records and CDs, but he recently moved to a much smaller home and sold off most of them. He's kept a few, but
Does he still
But
play?
he
Has
also-
he got a player? He's still playing.
he did for a long time. But when they moved, he got rid of the player, but he's copied all the records onto his computer as well. He got one of those devices that lets you do that.
But I mean, we really even don't need to do that anymore. If I remember specific, the Tchaikovsky violin concerto by Francescatti, whatever, if I remember, it's just there on YouTube. You
Yeah.
just punch it up and away it goes. So
Yeah.
common sense says, toss them out. We don't need them anymore. You know, common
Yeah.
sense.
But sometimes it's fun to have something to hold, I guess. I don't know. Mr. Analog over here. Common sense says just scan the pictures and throw them away. Just
Okay, we're. I think this conversation comes up in the shop many times. And I'm not going to sit here and spout off. We're immune to that.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. People want to touch stuff. you
Yeah.
know?
What's a CD? I just stream music.
I have 78s, crap, and I remember.
Yeah.
Dad used to buy them.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 78s that were purchased for the purpose of, as a new thing.
Yeah.
Go to the record shop, buy a 78, bring it home and play it. I have 70, I didn't, my dad bought those.
Yeah.
But I was in the house, I was 15, 16 years old. 78s were on sale in the record shop.
Yeah.
And he bought some.
Wow.
And then 45s. We skipped 45s because none of us at that time in the 1950s and 60s were into pop music because
Yeah.
it was pop hits were on
Yeah.
45s. And my dad was a jazz musician and I was into classical. So 45s were no part of our
Got it.
lifestyle.
78s and then to the
78s jumping to 33s. Oh my God, you can play a whole 2 movements of a symphony on one side and flip it over for the backside.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, how much music fits on one side of a 78? It's
I don't know,
pretty
but
short,
LPs
isn't
became
it?
20 minutes, the
Yeah.
early LPs. You know, you do a whole 40-minute symphony on
Right.
2 sides and stuff. I don't know, I know, whatever the count is, it's
Okay.
7, 8, 9 minutes. I
Yeah,
guess, I
it's
don't know.
quick.
But the early LPs, my God, when you get to the problem with symphonies is they all, and the last movements are all noisy, loud.
Yeah.
And by that time, you're on the inner grooves.
Yeah.
Because the first designers of LPs got it backwards. They started on the outside and went inside.
Yeah.
So all the noisiest parts of a piece of music are on the part where you've totally, there's not enough physical plastic to let this thing happen. You know?
Yeah.
It was a total mistake.
Yeah.
I get why they did it, but it didn't make any sense. And if they had started at the middle and come out, LPs could have been varying sizes. They wouldn't have all had to be the same size. Or records
Yeah.
wouldn't have all had to be the same size. CDs start from the middle. I didn't know that. I got
What was that?
wrong. CDs start from the middle. The first track is on the middle.
Oh yeah, that makes sense because when you burn a CD, you can see
Yep.
the color
And
change.
also that's why they were able to make those mini CDs. So
Got
because
it.
they start from the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, still, it's not track length the same.
Right.
Obviously, they get more bits as
Yeah.
it goes around the outside. But the pickup, the reading of it starts at the middle track,
Yeah.
which wait a minute, how did they do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so-
Makes sense though.
Almost done. Oh, we're not almost done. We have 2 sheets left. Good,
All
good.
right.
I can move on to the next job. We have a couple of different jobs here to do today, along with some talking to do. What
Yeah.
time is it now?
9:06.
I'm 6. Okay, we better get to that too.
John Becker said a while ago, sorry, I'm catching up everyone. I grew up on a 50s RCA recording of Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra playing Ravel's Bolero. Am I saying that right? And the first time I heard it performed live, I wondered where all these trombones came from at the end. Apparently Ormandy wasn't a big fan, so he had just omitted them from
What? Really?
the recording in the 50s.
You omitted them or asked them to play a bit quieter, boys? You mean?
I don't
know
know.
what you're getting at here. You
Yeah.
can't omit them. I don't.
Yeah, he just says, I wondered where they all came from in the live one, so I don't know.
Really? So you put it down in the mix or something?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Never heard that story before.
Yeah.
The American orchestras in general, Chicago specifically, were big on brass. You know.
Oh, yeah. So you guys didn't own any Madonna LPs growing up? They said.
We'll have to go through these. So there's a few, there's chitty specs and stuff like that. So these are not all okay for sale, but we'll have to go through them. Okay, that's done. Next step is, that's over to you for storage, right?
Yep.
Good, thank you. I've got to check some date prints. They're so good. She brought these to me and says they're the worst prints she's ever made.
Of course.
Just
They always are. Every batch is the worst ones. Good morning. Hello, hello.
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Yeah, 9:07, you're early.
Okay. Eager to get going. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Interesting.
there's no embossing on these. She already did it. She did the embossing herself.
All right.
Look at this. Really, really deeply. She did it while the paper was wet. Actually, a bit too much pressure there. Are they showing? I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is...
It makes it easy to read.
Kawasaki carved this one. I thought I did it, but Kawasaki did, I guess.
Uh-oh.
And then Suri today. And she won't let us put her real name on. But,
Yeah.
I
So
still
we use
don't even know
katakana.
what her real name is. Anyway. Got a couple things to explain here. Today is Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Thursday, and there's going to be no stream tomorrow. There's going to be no stream tomorrow. We hinted about this the other day.
Yeah.
I
Is
know.
that Monday? Yeah, it must
I
be.
can't remember. I don't even know what day it is. I cannot even remember what day it is. We hinted about it. There won't be any stream tomorrow because, just give the news straight up, we're switching to a 3-day-a-week format for these streams. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at first. We looked at the distribution of viewership and readership and
Yeah.
watchership to try and figure out what days were the best and what days were the peak, but it's
Completely random.
I can't say completely random, but it's essentially random. We can't identify which days are more important to some viewers and to the viewers in general.
Yeah.
There's going to be people out there who have some days they can watch and some days they can't watch. And we can't. All I could do is I could look at the viewership en masse. We're going to go to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And there's a bunch of things about it. It's not just Twitch that's changing here for us. My personal schedule, the way I use time, we're going to try and make a massive change in this.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be the CEO here. I mean, this is half to laugh about and half
Yeah.
not to laugh about. 6-7 years ago, we were a tiny little organization, one person with 2 or 3 helpers. And this year, we're going to cross $1 million in sales. And it's $1 million in sales in small transactions.
Yeah.
We are a stunningly complicated, busy business now. And not only that, we're a business that doesn't just sell stuff. Everything we sell on those small transaction levels, we build from zero.
Yeah.
It's not just a retail shop that buys stuff and figures out what the market is and sells it. We are a creator, we are a factory, we are a distributor, we are a retail environment, we are a marketing organization.
Yeah.
And we're doing all these things, and we're doing it pretty well.
But we can do better.
We are doing really well. The corner office has been vacant for over the last year now. We don't have a corner office, but you know what I mean. There's been nobody doing the CEO job.
Yeah.
And it's starting to tell in that we are floundering for where we should be going, what we should be doing, where this company should be moving forward, how to hire people, how to train them, it's not happening, how to hire new party staff, how to train them, it's not happening. Who's doing the layout for the color variation in the next print, it's not happening. We have lost control of our software development, nothing's happening. I have a list on my computer of 20, 30 things that the boss should be in control of and at least thinking about and doing. And none of this is happening because all I do every day is firefighting. I run here and I run there and I do this and I do that and I do this. I'm not complaining. I'm having a ton of fun. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I have to start to carve out some time in my schedule for doing a vitally important job of running this company. And the thing we're going to try over the next few weeks, actually this week it's not going to work because we're still in the middle of the holiday period.
Right.
The thing we're going to try over the period of the next few weeks and months is to start by carving out a couple of days a week, and we're going to start like with Tuesdays and Thursdays, where I am not here. We're going to try and make sure we have staff for the shop to the extent they can do the parties. And for the first half of the day, I will not be here. I will be in my room upstairs.
We won't be accessible.
And I will try to learn how to use that time, shut the mail off, shut the browser off, put my job list up and try and chew through the jobs that I have to do.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be easy to make this transition because I myself, I'm just the same as all of us. I'm distracted by all this stuff all around us, plus the distractions that come to me from outside. People calling my phone, people coming up to ask me what to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the Twitch stream thing, as I said, Tuesdays and Thursdays is going to be off, as is the weekends, and I'm going to try and carve out some space for me to not have free time, for me to organize my work for how this goes on.
Got it.
So whatever, I'm sure there's some of you that think, no, you want more of this, you want more of this, but honestly speaking, these streams really are actually extremely repetitive. The jobs that I've been doing on these streams have been the same job coming back again and again and again and again and again. And trying to look at it dispassionately, we don't need to do this 6 days a week.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we need to do this 6 days a week. If I do it 3 days a week with the same sort of format we've done now, and maybe it will give me time to think of a few more things that I could do more interestingly.
Yeah.
Prepare a bit more show and tell. People like to see doing that. And the show and tell so far, I've just thought, let me grab this. And I open it, and I don't even know what I'm looking at, because it's just arrived from an auction package yesterday. So show and tell should evolve into a situation where I can actually give you a bit more information on what we are actually looking at, make it a bit more useful / interesting / worth looking at, rather than just me making a fool of myself, not knowing how to read whatever I'm showing you anymore. So anyway, there it is for now. I'll take your feedback, we'll listen, but we've sort of made our decision on this here.
Yeah.
Twitch streaming will be happening. And this is not sort of the beginning of the end. We're going to cut it down to 3, then next month cut it down to 2, next month cut it down to 1. I like doing this. I enjoy this. I think it's vitally important to our mission for me to sit here and make myself available to the world and show people what's going on. So this is not the beginning of the end. This is simply a statement of the fact that I've got to cut down on stuff like this.
John Becker said, so streams on Monday, Wednesday, Friday only? Yes. That's Japan
That's
time.
Japan
so
time.
for many of you,
So,
that's
yes.
Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night.
Yes. And this is not in concrete. If I can be convinced that it should be on some different days because a bunch of important friends and stuff cannot do it on any of these 3 days or something, whatever, feedback. This is not set in
The dates aren't set in stone, but the idea.
whatever. I've got to be flexible to see what makes sense in the world. So. Of course, YouTube. I have got to get the focus back more on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've received these comments steadily. Dave, where are the videos? Where are the videos? Twitch is ephemeral. YouTube is forever. And I think so. I think that's true.
Yeah.
You guys are having fun. You're friends. I get it. But it's a bunch of people sitting chatting for a few minutes, which disappears into the ether.
Yeah.
Whereas if I spend more time curating really interesting videos, they go wider.
Stick around,
They go wider and stick around. So. So that's what's happening in the near future. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm exhausted or worn out or sick or anything. I'm fine, but I have to try and figure out how to use my time more responsibly, more like the boss of an organization. I mean, $1 million.
Yeah.
I just can't believe.
Good morning. Yeah.
What do we got now? 20. How many people on staff now?
I think around
again.
25.
I think
26.
it's more than that.
It could be.
It's,
Yeah. That's good. All those YouTube video series are so magical and rewatchable. Because I guess, because like you said, they're
it's good stuff,
curated,
it's
they're
content,
planned.
Yeah,
they're,
it's content, you know. So and I'm not doing enough of it. I've done like 4 videos in the past 12 months,
Yeah.
and that's not enough. It's not enough. There's so many more things out there to talk about and to show.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just even the things we've seen on show and tell on the stream. Any
Those
one
could
of
be
those
short
things they
videos,
make,
yeah.
or long videos. They
Or
make
long.
wonderful. You know, the content is out there.
Yeah.
And if I don't put that content out there, nobody else is.
Yeah.
There's another important point. You know, the video we're making right now, the one about the 8 views
Yeah.
of such and such.
Yeah.
We're going to end this next video with a long time, short time, Cameron, whatever. We're going to
Yeah.
decide how much time to spend
Yeah.
on this. We're going to spend some time closely looking at 8 prints that are drop dead gorgeous
They are
prints.
beautiful.
And we'll talk about this episode in the video itself. There was a young woman here from one of Europe's major museums that has an opioid collection. And I shouldn't use her name here because it sort of, I know, might reflect badly on her. She's an important curator at one of these collections. She came to visit because she likes what we're doing and wanted to talk. We went for dinner, had a beer and stuff like that. And when we came back after dinner, you know, come and see my etchings, whatever. I showed her some of my woodblock prints, and we put this series up on the wall there, and because we'd mentioned it during dinner,
Right.
And she was stunned by how beautiful they were.
Yeah.
And these are 20th century reproductions,
Right.
Because in her milieu, in her world of the real ukiyo-e collections, she'd never seen these things before. And she was staggered by how beautiful they were. And I said, look, they come in the market time. Why don't you buy a set for your museum, you know? And she's like, and she was physically, she can't do that.
Yeah.
Because they are not originals.
They're not old.
They're not old, they're not originals. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's knowledge we have and collections we have that are actually, I think, as vitally important as the stuff that is inside the British Museum, but they can't touch it. And we're in a wonderful situation.
Yeah.
We can touch it and drink it and talk about it and show everybody. And I think it could be that this will turn out that these are really important stories because they're being ignored by the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my excuse. And I'm sticking to it. So.
Sounds good.
What was Ray Chan complaining about? She said this is one of the worst batches of prints she's ever handed in.
Look at how rich and flat those
And
red
what am I
sections are.
misunderstanding? I don't get it. What am I missing here? That she's... I mean, sometimes there's stuff that I can see, okay, I see she's talking about that or something, but
Yeah.
I cannot find anything.
Those are-
When
Have a look, grab
when I
them,
was
come
upstairs, she said the yellow was misregistered on one of the shoulder palindromes.
I don't see it.
Yeah, on like one copy of the thing, so there's one back here maybe at the end.
I don't.
See how the black is like slightly, like I think like.
Could you point to me what you're saying? You were up there, whatever.
Little tiny
Look at this
section.
copy.
Yeah.
And if you match them two against each other, see how here it's.
Okay, I think I see what you get. Look. There's a yellow here. Let me try and zoom in. I don't think the camera will zoom in close enough. I got a microscope. We might need a microscope to find this.
Will it focus there?
Okay, what we're looking at. Do you see the red has come into the yellow? I'm not sure. We're looking at it upside down.
Yep, there.
Is that it? Is that what she's talking about?
Yep.
Wow.
All right, Ray Chan, you're fired.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, come
Wow.
on. Actually, what's happening here, she perhaps doesn't realize this. We're now in maybe our fifth,
beautiful.
500 or so of these prints. You can,
Yeah.
400, 500 of these things. And the wood is not super prime, really hard, dense cherry.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, partly because we choose softer wood for the color blocks. We want to do that. And it turns out that when you press and press and press and press, and Ray Chan is chronic for this, she puts too much physical pressure in because she doesn't quite yet know how to use the baron.
Yeah.
So she's using too much physical pressure. So sometimes the printed area, the edges of it physically
Stretch.
start to expand. The edge of that wood will actually start to sort of curl over a bit. So it comes out a tiny bit wider.
Yeah.
And we have to watch for this. And the blocks have to be trimmed back sometimes in areas. And I see this now in the red block. This is microscopically on my camera coming out. And I see it again here. The red here is microscopically coming into this green.
Yeah.
So yes, these prints are not perfect. They're fabulous. These are going out to collectors, and anybody who gets one is lucky because they're so beautifully made. But yes, it should be tiny bit of shaving should happen on these red blocks in a couple of places, and she should be warned again. Lei-chan, please don't use quite so much pressure on these, especially when you've got a thin little area, because it does tend to sometimes spread the wood out. Do you see it here?
Yep. Very tiny amount.
Am I going to accept these? Yes, of course I'm going to accept them. These are wonderful. They're magnificent. I'll see if I go through. Maybe if there's a few where it's really blurred out too much, then yeah, we'll toss those out. But my God, what a wonderful job. I tell you, no other publisher is doing work like this. You know? I say it again and again and again. Even the big names, historically wonderful publishers.
Yeah.
There's no other as close as this. You know?
Yeah.
But I get what she was talking about. So she's seen these, and she knows David is strict,
Yeah.
and she's thinking that Dave might say, "Sorry, Lei-chan, throw them away. We're
Throw
gonna
'em
go
all
back."
away.
Yeah, we're gonna go back. Yes, we should talk to her about this because yes, if you let it go and let it go and let it go, it gradually gets out of control.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see her point, but no, these are fine. And I'm willing to say that and show this on a live stream that's going to go on YouTube that people are going to see 100 years from now and inspect the prints. No, really, because there's reasonable things to say and reasonable things not to say.
Yeah.
So. It's wonderful, wonderful work. And she's such a little girl, you know. But what she should have done, actually, she should have come to me and said, "Dave, let's trim these a bit," you know.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed she didn't do that. She doesn't want to bother me. I get it. It's the same thing we were talking about 10 minutes ago. You know? Dave's
Always putting up fires.
Yeah, yeah. So, but she should have come to me and said, you know,
Yeah.
it needs a bit of trimming. Or maybe she didn't notice it until it was all dry. No idea.
Yeah.
Part of it too, you know, this is interesting. When you look at this, I should zoom in again, because the angle of attack of the light makes a difference. And if you're making prints, it's too far, okay, sorry.
There it is. Yep.
Somewhere around there. As a printer, if I'm printing and putting the finished print down and checking it, if the light's coming this way, remember we've got an embossed effect here. I'm not just talking about embossing for the names. Every single impression of ours does emboss the paper. You put that green in, it makes the paper flat, but the nearby paper has stayed up.
Yeah.
So we now have actually a geography here. We have a high mesa and a flat thing. So if you put them all the same way this way, the light shines in.
Yeah.
And it turns out that if you put them the other way around, some of them, like here, in fact, I don't know if you can see it, I can see it from where I sit. From this angle, because the red is down and the yellow is up, that tiny bit of red coming into the yellow doesn't show because it's in the shadow.
Huh.
You probably can't see what I'm saying because I need my angle where I am. So what I'm saying is, after printing this red, the yellow went first, the red came later because the yellow was under the red. The paper where my knife is now is pressed flatter, and this yellow area is a bit higher. So the light's coming this way, so this line is now in shadow. So I can't see any misregistration here. This red seems to be just up to the line.
Yeah.
But if you put the next print down after printing, if you put it down the other way up, now it's the other way around.
Yeah.
The light is coming onto the edge of this, and I can see the red. Aha, it's a tiny, tiny bit coming into this zone.
Yeah.
So a good experienced printer never just lays them all down the same way, one after the other after the other. You will put some sideways or sideways or sideways or upside down. And there's 3 or 4 benefits to that. One is if you've printed a red part at the bottom of your print, when you put the next one upside down, the moisture equalizes between the copies, heads and tails, heads and tails.
Okay.
The other thing is when you look at the print this way, as a printer, you're also looking at it as a viewer. And you're not seeing an object that's under construction, you're seeing Samus the warrior with a red helmet and a mask. I don't want to do that. as a constructor. I don't want to see Samus. I want to see, is there any misregistration? Is there a blot? I don't want to see an artwork.
Yeah.
I want to see an object that is under construction.
Yeah.
And this is a thing. If you put them all the same way up, you're just seeing the same Samus picture again and again and again. Your eye becomes inured to it, and you don't notice anything that starts to go wrong. But if you put the next one sideways, you don't see that anymore. All you see is a green band of color on a piece of paper.
Got it.
And your eye catches mistakes much more readily.
Interesting.
So absolutely, an experienced printer who's falling into this dum-da-da, let's keep going, I gotta finish by noon to get my lunch. That's really dangerous. You've got to put some upside down, sideways, backwards, so that your eye says, whoop, hey, what's that over there? That's a little bit different from that. You can't let yourself look at the picture. You have to be forcing yourself to look at the physical object that you are making. And maybe she's not experienced enough to really get that yet. So.
Okay.
And I learned these things over decades, all by myself, just learned through screwing up again and again. I'd get to the end of a batch of prints and I hadn't noticed there was a blotch there.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
50 prints.
Out they go. It might be 5, it might be 10, it might be 50. But you only have to do that a few times before you start to get, what can I do so that this won't happen next time?
Got it.
The mortgage is waiting to be paid, the people are waiting, the deadline.
There's our Iceman.
It's early today.
Yeah, he is. 9:27.
Okay.
So we've got the question. There are a couple of questions. How many of the prints that you sell in the store will also appear on the website for sale? Everything we make, and now all the Yoshida prints we have, and many of the Doi Hanga prints. We're working on getting more of them. They're online. And then the flea market, we're slowly building up, but that takes time. And when we only have one copy of it,
roll
it
back a
disappears.
second. But Cameron didn't mention them. There's 2 kinds of prints in the shop. Prints we make and control the production of, and then the flea market, we just buy and sell old prints.
Yeah.
So his point was the prints we control, new ones, are now almost all on the website when they are in stock.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go out of stock and they disappear for a while, waiting to come back.
Right.
And the second point of his answer to the flea market is they'll never all be online.
Yeah, because
Kira-san, it's all your fault.
sometimes they're online and then they sell and then we take them off immediately. And sometimes we have 10 copies of one and so we put it on. It stays on for a while. So they come and go. But we're working on it. Then another question. How do most people learn to print nowadays in Japan? You've mentioned carvers train under a master at a school is printing the same thing.
When carvers train under a master, there isn't any. The old apprentice system has gone. It decayed and collapsed during the war, at the end of the war. There is no standard method now for traditional workers to be trained. Adachi tries to train new young printers. They get a bit of subsidy money from the government to try to train people for a couple of years until the subsidy money runs out. But almost always the people quit after the 2 years. There is no standard method for this. And this is actually, I was going to talk to you today. I've got my list of things that I got to do when I get back to my corner office. And in my hugely long list of things is we have to now get serious about establishing a printer trainee program. Because it's been more than 5 years since we started a batch of young people training. So yes, there is nothing happening these days, and it's up to us to try and get a bit more of a formal structure in place for people who would like to try this.
I think there's one more. Some people offered some thoughts about changing the schedule, so we can read through those
I will
later.
read this very carefully at lunchtime or tonight, whatever. I won't have time at lunchtime, but tonight I will very carefully read this. We'll listen to the feedback. Thank you very much. But for the next foreseeable future, it's going to be a 3-day week. I won't be here tomorrow. I will be here Friday night.
Just making sure I didn't miss anything else we could cover right now. This conversation about the color registration shows that even with repetitive tasks on Twitch streams, there are always nuanced conversations about printmaking, and that makes the daily stream special.
And part of it too, I know this is something I was trying to verbalize a while back. I know if they've become repetitive and boring, it's Dave doing the same job again and again. And if you guys can what's the word? I don't want to make it your fault. The more interesting questions that come in, the more interesting, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. And somebody's, oh my God, the same question again, in which case the stream can answer it. But sometimes the question will be something that comes up where it leads to an interesting point being made. Yes. So it is got to be more of a two-way street too.
Yeah.
So if you guys can keep up a certain amount at your end,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that's just not free reign to ask me 100 questions when I'm here on Friday morning.
Favorite
That's not how it
food,
works,
favorite
you know.
word, favorite color.
But yeah. Let's make it work both ways. You know?
Yeah.
Some days I'm tired and I'm really not into talking too much, and some
Yeah.
days I'm ready to explain a million things. And oh my God, I didn't get any work done because I've sat and talked for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so
But that's fun too.
let's see how it goes.
Okay. Are you done? Are you finishing this, or
No,
what's
I've
next?
I've got 10 o'clock party, and it's a 5-time
Oh, yeah.
repeater. They're back for the 5th time.
Wow.
Long-time supporter, long-time friend. He might be actually watching the stream this morning.
Okay.
So I've got to be there, and I'm on party duty all the way, all day today.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope there's nothing negative about this.
Yeah.
We're up and running. We're happy. We're healthy. We're moving forward.
Yeah.
The ship of state is steady ahead.
Yeah.
See you on Friday. Thank you.
Thanks.